Alright, there's no beating around the bush here. You're here for one reason. Is Soul good? Well, you'll be surprised to hear, yes it is. For people who have seen this movie, they may wonder why people are asking this, but the previews and the marketing for this movie were so wrong and didn't do this movie justice. For one, the movie appeared like it would be 15 minutes of human Joe and then Blob for the rest of the movie with bad kid jokes. But not only is more of this movie spent in the real world, the horrible dancing joke made in the previews luckily didn't make the final cut. I cannot begin to understand what a horrible job the marketing team did for Soul, because I, like so many others, was worried. Pixar also recently hasn't had their groove. They really haven't released Pixar classics in the past few years, and it looked grim for them. This movie isn't perfect by any means, but it finally looks like Pixar is back to making good movies. Now, for the spoiler section. Spoilers ahead for Soul and somewhat Inside Out. Leave now if you haven't seen either. Like I said, this movie isn't perfect, but man is it good. I want to start with the fact that this finally felt like an adult movie. This might be the first since Ratatouille. Does it do better? No, Ratatouille is the best Pixar movie, but Soul does his damnedest. Sure, it has child humor, but it's far less than expected, and sometimes it actually kind of feels right. The best parts of this movie have to be Joe and his mom, and 22 going through the world. The childlike whimsy that 22 has is exhilarating. The way she's so innocent to the world around her and is afraid of New York to start is just so well done. Also, the way 22 gets Joe to not just beat the bush around his mom, but instead be direct is just amazing. 22 doesn't know what we normally do around people we love because we don't want to hurt them, but sometimes not being direct can hurt yourself, just like Joe had been doing. 22 getting a haircut and talking to Des is another great way to show 22's innocence. Now, I think 22 is really well written. Her entire life, or maybe not life because she never had a body, but her entire existence, she has found joy in annoying others, and never found the point in life on Earth. She's still this annoying person, soul thingy throughout the first half of the movie because she finds joy in that. When she finally gets a chance on Earth, she finally gets excited about something. I think her dynamic with Joe is great, even though I think sometimes Joe can be a bit too selfish. I haven't even gotten to my favorite character, Moonwind. This man slaps. His character's perfect. His jokes, his life, everything he does is just great. So often these hippies seem like they're the problem in society and are lowlifes, but this movie flips that stereotype on its head. Moonwind and the people on the peace ship or whatever it's called are just loving souls saving people from their pointless jobs. Moonwind doesn't need a high-paying job to be happy. Moonwind's happy with his sign-flipping job and saving people like this hedge fund manager from life of regret and disappointment. He doesn't save Joe the same way, but this movie as a whole makes the audience look at their life and think about if they really want to live their life this way. Joe thinks his whole life was sad and pointless, but if he gets this gig, he will feel fulfilled and that his purpose is met. But when he's done playing, he doesn't feel happy. He never realized that his spark isn't his purpose. In real life, people are lost souls searching for their purpose, but in reality, we don't have linear purposes. We instead live life for the sake of living it. The experiences of life we live through is what matters. Joe mixes this up and makes 22 sad because he says that she doesn't have a purpose, when in reality, you don't have a purpose, but rather a life to live however you want. Even with all that said, this movie has small problems too. I think 22 and Joe's dynamic isn't classic Disney. They aren't Mike and Sully or Remy and Linguini, or hell, even Mater and Lightning McQueen. They're interesting, they're entertaining, they have a good dynamic, but they aren't anything special. This movie, as good as it is, felt like a worse Ratatouille as well as a worse Inside Out. The emotions I felt when Bing Bong dies compared to anything in Soul just isn't the same. On my 10th viewing of Inside Out, I still cry when Bing Bong dies. When anything that happens in Soul that has the semblance of emotion, I feel sad, but really not that bad. Also, the passion and drive in Ratatouille of Remy, as well as the adult themes, are much more fleshed out and done so much better than Soul. Soul's concept as a whole is also just too deep and complex compared to Inside Out and Ratatouille. Both of these movies have less childish humor and are easier to comprehend than Soul, which somehow has more kid humor. Another thing I didn't appreciate as much was Terry. He was written as the one antagonist to keep the plot moving, but personally, I think he could have almost been ignored. He isn't funny and doesn't have a big enough role to be intimidating. I'm in this awkward spot where I want more of Terry, while at the same time, I kind of want less of Terry. Either you make him truly menacing, like Joe will be caught or forego his existence, and have the motivation be Joe needs to get back in time either way. Joe doesn't care about Terry. And why should he? He doesn't know this guy's trying to catch him. And that's a bad thing. If the protagonist and antagonist aren't directly at odds, this is a problem. Terry is at odds with Joe, but Joe wants to live his life and doesn't care or know there's someone coming for him. If they add more Terry, it makes it more suspenseful and maybe could make Joe afraid of him. Also, Terry and Jerry feel like a budget good and bad Janet from The Good Place, but I mean, everyone probably thought that if they've seen this movie and The Good Place. Finally, let's end on the ending of the movie, because we finally get Joe in the zone and he feels the weight of leaving 22 behind and tells her he was wrong and she should go live her life. Then Joe is at peace with his death and Jerry gives him a second chance. Like, I get it. It's a kid's movie, so what did I expect? But at the same time, this feels so cheap. Jerry tries to say Joe truly inspired them or some horse shit so he can live again, but like, he didn't earn this. The Jerrys up in the soul world have seen billions upon billions of souls being mentored to go to Earth. And Joe telling 22 that a purpose isn't what life is really about isn't that inspiring. They either needed to make Joe's inspiration truly inspiring, or sadly, they needed to kill him off. I'm sorry, I know it's a kid's movie, but like he doesn't deserve this. I don't want to end on a bad note because I actually really enjoyed Soul, so I'll end with this. Joe playing the piano and reliving his life accomplishments and his time with 22 is just magnificent. They just have the score and Joe's facial expressions take over. That's it. I didn't even talk about a quarter of this movie and what I loved, but for time's sake, I'll end this there. This movie isn't anywhere near perfect, but it was a damn good movie, and finally made me excited to see the next Pixar movie. Something I haven't felt in a long ass time. Thank you guys for watching. I got another video coming out this week. I just wanted to cover this ASAP. Let me know what your guys' thoughts were on Soul and any movie recommendations. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.